G'day ladies and gentlemen, ScottyD here from the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network, and welcome back for another installment in our competitive focus series. Alrighty ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ATWN for another installment in our Warhammer 40k competitive focus series, where we focus more on the competitive side of playing Warhammer 40,000 and everything that goes along with that, not just from the player's perspective but also from the tournament organizer's perspective as well. And today's video is going to be a bit more about the tournament organizer's perspective, where we're going to be talking about player packs and their importance and what should be included in player packs. Now, this is going to be something for those newer TOs out there, or some of those more experienced TOs that may have not considered some of these aspects that we're going to be talking about today, that are, I believe, to be crucial in players packs when you are attending tournaments as well. But before we jump into the content of today's video, I want to thank everyone who has been supporting us on YouTube, watching our videos, liking, commenting, doing all the fun stuff, and even subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate all of the support that you have been providing us on the YouTube side of things for the network, as we have almost reached community monetization. Once YouTube gets its act together and updates, we should be able to apply for it and get it, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal to have. And it's all thanks to everyone watching our content as well. And we're going to push a little bit further as well to try and get YouTube partner this year also. But without further ado, let's jump in to talking a bit about player packs. Now, to give a brief understanding of what a player packet is, a player pack or player packet is the core details for a tournament that players need to know. It might have where the event's held, how much is entry, how to enter a tournament, some of the code of conduct and sportsmanship stuff, whole host of different things that can be included in a player pack for knowledge for the players. It could also include missions, terrain layouts, things like that as well, what FAQs are going to be in use, and such as well. So it's really important that as a player, when you go to an event, that you read the players pack that has been provided by the TO. They've put time and effort into putting this information together for you, for your benefit as a player. So it's really important to make sure that you read the players pack, because a lot of players don't, and there's a lot of information in these that is really beneficial for you as a player. And so I really encourage you to do so. If you're not reading your players packs when you're going to a tournament, make sure you are. Now, that being said, there's different kinds of players packs that you can encounter out there. If you're just running a one-day tournament, it might be a brief Facebook event for a local gaming store, and you've kind of got the basic run through in that event in there. You don't have to do a massive players pack for it. Whereas if you're running a 2-day GT, or maybe a major or a super major, like some of the ones in the US that Frontline Gaming run, which get 500 to 1,000 plays in attendance, if you look at LVO for example, then of course they're going to have a very specific and very detailed players pack. Now, we're going to look at the players pack for Warhammer 2024 that I've personally put together for the tournament, as the ATWN with myself is running Warhammer alongside the South Coast Siege guys, which is absolutely going to be a phenomenal tournament, with tickets actually going on sale tomorrow as of the time of video release, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And feel free to ask us in the YouTube comments, or to reach out to us on one of our social media platforms if you are interested in attending Warhammer 2024 if you are within Australia as well. So why don't we jump over to having a look at the players pack, and we can kind of talk through why the details that are included are important and why they're there. Alrighty everyone, so this is the players pack for Warhammer 2024 that I've put together with the help of my co-TOs. And so to start off with, we do have kind of this title page. Sometimes tournaments don't need this. It's just something that's nice, that just makes sure that that title page is nice and clear for the players pack, which is really beneficial. Then we come to your introduction page. This is the first page of real content that you're going to be seeing in the players pack, where you got a bit of a brief introduction for the tournament, name of the tournament, the dates, what edition of 40k we're going to be playing, for example, what level of tournament, and just a general welcome to the players that are in attendance. Now, something that's a quality of life feature that you might not have if you've only got like a 3-page tournament pack is a table of contents. I think because we've got a larger tournament pack for Warhammer, I thought it was pertinent to add in a table of contents telling you on what pages what information is there, so you as the player are able to find the specific information really easily. And it's a nice to have but not crucial in a player's pack, like some of the other information we're going to talk about in a second. Now, First up, in terms of pivotal information, is the main details. So the main details covers things like where the tournament's being held, how many rounds, entry fee, dates, number of players that can attend and stuff, and who the tournament organizers are and who to reach out to if they need assistance on the day or before the tournament as well. This is really important for the main details of the tournament so that you as a player know who to go and speak to if you're having an issue on the day, or who to direct your questions to throughout the lead up to a tournament about maybe models or rulings or things like that as well. So it's really important to have the main details in a player's pack. The next one is player equipment. Now, every player knows that you need to bring your army, you need to bring dice and tape measure at minimum, but some tournaments will have additional things, like there's an expectation to bring objective markers, you might need to bring your printed army list, you might need to bring FAQs, erratas, codexes and indexing in physical form over to just digital, like things like that. So that's something to bear in mind as well. I like to have that directly after the main details, so then it's actually nice and clear that, this is what players are expected to be bringing with them as a standard first page of the main details for the tournament, so you can't miss it and get lost in amongst all of the rest of the details of the players pack. Next up, we have got a sponsors page. Now, if your tournament doesn't have any sponsors, then this page is going to be quite irrelevant for you, but having sponsors for your event and being able to notify the players that are attending who is helping you put on this event, who is providing prize support, whether you have purchased prize support from them or they are sponsoring the event by providing prize support to you, is really good to bring note to the businesses that are doing so, because they are supporting you out of the goodness of receiving some kind of return from their support and getting their name out there. So for Gonghammer, we are an ITC tournament as well as a Down Under 40K circuit event, being the finale circuit event for the 2024 season. So I thought it was pertinent to put both of those in so players know that, we're a part of the rankings there. And then also we're currently sponsored by Good Games, which is probably one of the largest independent run gaming retailers in the country, as well as Tip Top Terrain, Dan Sherry, who does a phenomenal job with MDF Terrain, which you've seen ads on the network for before that we've done with sponsorships with him. So any sponsors you kind of add on that page, I like to have it towards the front of the packet, because then having it at the front, players can see that quite easily and it's not lost on the last page and everything. It's a nice thing to do for the sponsors that are supporting your tournament as well. So, and if you're a player and you see that, make sure to check out those businesses because they are supporting the event you are planning on attending. Now, next up, I've got entry and rankings together on the same page. So when you go to enter a tournament, generally you want to know how to enter pretty early on in the packet, in my opinion, whether you're paying through PayPal, BCP, bank transfer, whatever that looks like, as well as also the BCP link to generally be registered to the tournament if you are running on a different tournament organization software, because I know there is a few out there that particularly in Europe they use. There's going to be different links that you can provide for those, so having those in the players pack is really important, so you know where to sign up and how to pay for your ticket to actually attend the tournament, which is super important for the player, because if they don't have that information, then you're going to get bombarded with 50 million questions. So it's really important to have that as kind of the next most important item in your players pack. Then we've also got the ranking section. Now this is notifying players that we are a part of the international tournament circuit, the ITC, and the Down Under 40K circuit, so they know that this is an event that they're going to get ranking points for, both the ITC and the Down Under 40K circuit as well. So it's really good to notify players of that, so they're aware that yes, this is a ranked event that is going to be happening and contributing to their scores for the ranking season as well. Next up, we've got the timetable. Now, timetable split over a couple of pages in this players pack. The first page is actually just 2 tables that tell you at what time what should be happening, basically. So, day 1, it starts off with arrival, player registration, a 10-minute TO briefing. Round 1 starts at 10 a.m. With 2 hours, 45-minute rounds is how you can kind of deduce from the time. Then you got lunch and player's choice for 45 minutes and things there as well. Then you got your next round. It allows players to understand how long the rounds are and how long they have to play their games, in addition to when the breaks are and such, as well as knowing, okay, during lunch I've got to do a player's choice vote as well, so I better set up my army if I want to be able to do that. Day 2, again, very similar, but we jump into, you know, arrival is a bit longer. We don't have the TO briefing, for example, but we still do have the same round start time and things like that. So if it's less important for a single day event, is generally you might be a bit more constrained with your time. So you're like, okay, 2.5 hours, we're in a game store that's only open for 10 hours. So we need to make sure 2.5 hour rounds, we do some time at the start of the day so people can rock up and register, time at the end for prizes, and time in the middle for lunch. And so it's kind of important that you stick to your timings, but this is also so that players are aware of what should be happening when, and when to be expected to rock up for the tournament and such as well. Of course, the more days you have, the more important that this schedule is for players to stick to, and knowing when awards are handed out, and as well helping to pack up and heading home after the event as well is always something to factor in your timeline. So if players want to stick around and help you pack down the event, then that is going to be something to put in on your timetable. Then I like to add some details around if players are running late for, you know, a particular round. Maybe they've got a family emergency that's come up that morning that they need to see to, and so they're going to run late to the tournament. There's kind of some things around that I like to include in terms of detail. Just contact the TO, let us know. If you don't contact us when you are running late, what are the implications of that? Then also telling you when how many minutes are left in the round is going to be called out, how, you know, we're doing a hard dice down for Gonghammer, but you might be doing a soft dice down where you can finish the current turn or the battle round leading into the break. If you've got a half an hour break until the next round, you can do that. It just depends on your time between rounds and such as well. So I have also added in here, and I think it's important to have this in there in terms of how you actually score if you're halfway through a battle round when time is called. And so having that in the players pack, that is the way that's going to work, is really important. So players are aware and can expect that that's how that is going to work as well. Then we've got sportsmanship and code of conduct. I think this is one of the most important things in tournament packets nowadays that should be included outside of all the key things to allow players to enter and a few other features that we're going to talk about in a bit. But because of the ITC code of conduct that got introduced in 2021, I've got it linked here because we are using it for Gonghammer. I've also included some additional details around like the card system, which I do reference throughout the packet for various items. You know, the way players should handle themselves when they go interacting with their opponents, both physically, verbally, as well as with venue staff, TOs and such as well as a little bit about chess clocks. I know the chess clocks can be quite hidden in the ITC code of conduct, but they are there. And just kind of adding that, yes, chess clocks can be used if you want to, and how that functions within the event itself, which is really important to know, because if you're in an event and you don't have the details around how chess clocks work, then you have to find them yourself and know how to work them and try and help your opponent understand how you're using it, rather than just going, okay, we're using the ITC code of conduct, it has got the chess clock rules in there, those are the clock rules we're following and such. Really straightforward. Now, probably the most important one after sportsmanship and code of conduct is army composition, rules cutoff, and list submission. Players need to know when rules cutoff is for new releases, for FAQs, balanced data slates, all that fun stuff, because Games Workshop comes out with things thick and fast nowadays. They're releasing something for 40k at least once a month, if not multiple times a month. And so having a rules cutoff date for players to know, okay, this is the deadline as to when I cannot run a new codex, I cannot run an updated FAQ. Generally, FAQs are a little bit more okay unless they're game impacting when you are, you know, having that, but also understanding what rules are included and what rules aren't included. So for example, here we've got right at the top, list of 2,000 points. It's 10th edition indexes, codexes, or codex supplements. Forge World units are allowed, however, you can't use Horus Heresy or Legends units in the tournament, and that the rules cutoff is 3 weeks before the tournament as well, which is a week before list submission. So it means that players can actually look at, okay, I've got a week to figure out my list with where the rules stand at this point in time, which is really important. And then lists are due 2 weeks before the tournament, which is what I like to do, because for GT level events, I particularly think that lists need to be validated by the TOs. I know it's a crap ton of legwork for us as TOs, but I really think it is important. And players, you know, I include some things here where if you submit a Battle Scribe export, or if you submit an Excel document or in a body of an email, I'm just not going to process it. It's always best to get a plainly typed Word document or a Warhammer app export at worst for list submission, which is really easy then to copy the text across, place it in BCP for the player, so then the list is put across properly. I've got some things where I do reject those other ones and ask them to resubmit in the proper format. Making players aware that that is a thing, that if there's any differences that you do to other events or the norm, that having that in the players pack for players to be aware of is super important. And for you as a player, it's important to take note of changes like that. So you're like, okay, cool. I need to know that I need to submit my list for Gonghammer as a Word document or as a Warhammer app export, not as a Battlescribe export, not as a body of an email, not in an Excel sheet. It just needs to be one of those two formats that is acceptable for the tournament and when lists are due. Then also making sure that that's available for players is super important. You've then got painting and modeling. Now, painting and modeling is something that if you're running a 1-day tournament, it's not going to be as pivotal as you might not do things, but for 2 and 3 day events, I think having a painting and modeling section in the players pack is super important, because if you're doing any form of painting prizes, particularly like a best painted with a rubric, having the standard available is super important for how people can score for the sake of transparency. Now, we're starting off this section with the battle ready, so you don't need to be battle ready to play at tournaments. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I'll lose out on those 10 points if I'm not battle ready. I think that that's okay. Don't let being battle ready or not being battle ready stop you from playing events. Now, some events will do that you need to be battle ready for eligibility for prize support, like what I do in this players pack, and I say that straight up front. I'm very clear and transparent about that, and it's important to do so. I think it's a good rule of thumb, because then it at least gets people to base coat their minis to a reasonable standard to actually be battle ready to get prizes. It just makes sense. Then, how is battle ready going to be judged? Are you going to have the TOs go around and do it? Is it going to be on a player-by-player basis? Just having that information there so players know where they stand with that is really important, as well as the impact of if they are scoring themselves battle ready after you've told them they're not battle ready is another important thing of note. So it's a yellow cardable offense in my books, and that's why I've got that there as how it looks and the impacts of that yellow card and what penalties will be applied. Now, the biggest next part of this section outside of the rubric is how I'm handling what you see is what you get minis with counts as and proxies. Having this section is probably the fourth most important one in there outside of some of the ones we've talked about, because understanding that there is a process for players to submit your models for use at a tournament is paramount, because some events might be like, yeah, use 3D prints, use proxies, use counts as, no problems at all. Very much here in Australia though, the standard is to be like, you ask the TO ahead of time. If you're not using GW models, ask ahead of time. Now, some people are completely fine with GW IP infringing 3D prints. For Gonghammer, I've actually specifically called out that that's not okay. And some people might say that that's a bit of a, it's not great or it's not a good opinion. I understand, but we are playing a Games Workshop game at the end of the day. I don't mind them, being bits and such, but full-scale models just shouldn't be IP infringing, particularly when we're running the event as a business at the end of the day, and it can have repercussions for us. So that's just another factor that we have to consider, and a lot of businesses that do that might have something similar in there as well. But yeah, again, permissions at a TO's discretion and such as well, which it always should be. If a TO says you can't use a model, just take it on the chin. Every TO is going to have a different opinion. So you just need to play it by ear for event to event. Then, always best to ask a TO ahead of time. If you don't, and it gets found out at the tournament, there's going to be implications. So putting that in there is going to be important. Whatever implications you have for that, whether that's a warning or a yellow card or a battle point penalty, whatever that is super important to be aware of as a player, and also important to put in as a TO. Then having a painting rubric for the sake of transparency is super important, because we're using the painting rubric for a few different prizes. So I thought it's super important to have the painting rubric in here as a transparency thing, to know what players are actually going to be scoring for painting to certain levels, so they can look at their army they're planning on taking, and if they want to improve upon it, that they can, to try and get more points on this standard compared to others as well. And so there's I think there's 6 different elements to the rubric with up to 150 points you can score on that. with some examples that I've had from one of our Discord moderators who put together this rubric. He did some examples on an Orc Boy here, and he's just built upon each one. And so the one furthest on the right hand side of screen is probably the best quality one, and then the one on the left hand side is the just good. It's your battle ready standard, for example, and the middle's a little better and kind of in between both. So it's good to have examples as well in the players pack of that as well, I find. Next up, you've got missions and terrain, as well as content and streaming. So missions and terrain, I think it's important for players to be aware of what mission set you're running and how you're going to be utilizing terrain. So for example, Pride Nexus has just dropped, so we're using that for 40k for the next 12 months with competitive 40k tournaments. And then they've just released the new layouts as well, which there are 8. And so how is that going to work? You're going to run all 8 layouts? Are you running 2 or 3 of them? Are you running 1 per mission that everyone plays on the same layout? Just depends on what you're deciding to do. And so it's really important to notify the players in the players pack as that is what you're achieving, wanting to do with that. And, ensuring that, when missions are released, when is the terrain pack going to be released as well, so players are aware of that. Also, if you are having a stream at your tournament, or if you're having someone take photos or videos of the event, make sure you put in your players pack so players are aware of it, and give them an opportunity that if they don't want to be photographed or videoed or on stream, that there is an avenue for them to communicate that to you as the TO and going, hey, I don't want to be playing on stream, I don't want to be photographed, I don't want to be videoed, which is super important in my opinion. Then the last one up, now you can leave this out and leave it as a bit of a mystery to the players. I like being, again, transparent in everything I do as a TO, and so having all the prizes up that are going to be on offer at a minimum for the tournament. We may have more than this for Gonghammer, but putting up your prizes like best general for first place, second place, third place. I like Renaissance Person personally, which is the best combined painting and battle score. I have ones like Mediocre Man, which is one that I came up with years ago, which is the person who's smack bang in the middle of the tournament. So we've got 80 players. Player 40th is who gets that award at the event. Local legend and traveling titan I've managed to borrow from Andrew, who runs Capital Clash. Really solid idea, and I love that idea that I'm going to implement as well. Super faction prizes, as well as of course the obligatory wooden spoon. So yeah, and then just saying that if players are eligible for multiple prizes, then it's going to go, they're going to receive the one that is of the higher value as well, which is super important. And I tend to like to leave this as the last page, so if players don't fully read through the players pack, they're not going to know what prizes are on offer. So that basically covers off the important things that I believe you should include in players pack. Now, if you want to, you can include the layouts you're going to use. You can include the missions that you're going to be playing in a players pack as well, and just make one full players pack of missions, terrain, and all the player details. Kind of makes it a long document, but at the same time, I do see value in that as well. So that about covers it for what we were looking at for Gonghammer and the way that I approached writing that players pack and formatting it in a nice, easy, clear to read format so players can digest it and read it ahead of time. We've published the players pack the day of recording for this video, so it means that players have got it like 5 months in advance of the event, which is, if you've only got a month or 2 before your tournament, get your players pack out as quick as possible so players know how they enter, what's going on with the event, so that then they're able to enter the tournament and know where they stand with the variety of different things that we've just spoken about as the important functions that I believe should be in a players pack as well. So yeah, that's going to wrap up our look at players packs for today, everyone. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you found it very informative when it comes to what you should be looking for in players packs when you are attending tournaments, and what should actually be included if you're a tournament organizer running events and, considering various functions that you're going to be doing at the tournament, whether you're doing paint judging, whether you're doing different prizes, whether you're, doing different entry fee, payment methods and such as well. Just notifying the players of that is super important. But yeah, if you have any feedback on the way that we've done the Gonghammer players pack, or just, my ideas around players packs in general. Feel free to let us know down in the comment section below. If you have any other feedback as well on the format of the video, let us know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit with a like, and if you want to catch more content from us here at the ATWN, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you're able to be notified as to when we are releasing more content here on the network, whether that's tournament coverage, whether that's more in our From Sprue to Tabletop series, how to play 40k 10th edition and such as well. It's going to be really great to have you guys joining us as we continue to forge the path forward to reach YouTube partner this year as well. And if you do want to catch us live where we do hobbying sessions, tournament previews, and tournament coverage over on Twitch, feel free to head over to the Australis TWN channel over on Twitch. Drop us with a follow there so you can catch our streams live over there as well and interact with myself and maybe others during those sessions. And I also want to give a massive shout out to our Ko-Fi supporters and Twitch subscribers. You guys and your financial contributions really massively help us out as the network being able to cover the costs that we have as a business. And I really want to just thank you guys, because the most recent payout we got from Twitch was enough to actually cover our business registration for the next 3 years. So it's things like that that your financial contributions go towards helping us out with. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll catch you in the next one.